players. I think it was Dave Gonzalez, not the guy from the Paladins, but the San Jose Dave Gonzalez, who was a real good guitar. He was in the style of Peter Green too. Quit. So I was living at this house by this club, by the Bodega, where everybody played, right? And so Rob Alvarado, the bass player I had, goes, "Hey man, today I got a call saying that Gary Smith's coming over with Robin Ford, and they want to check you out to possibly, join the band." So, Robin comes over there, and he's got this Super 400, and he's bending over backwards playing all this shit. He played first for some reason. And then I played, and I'm going, I'm sliding on chords, going. And so Gary goes, "Oh, Robert Lockwood." And I go, "Who's that?" So I was sliding on the chords. He goes, "Oh, man, that's what I want to hear right there." That kind of, how hard players are. They want to do nothing, basically, right? They want you to just be kind of transparent in the background. They just blow their brains out. But anyway, I love hard players, but it gets annoying after a while because they do nothing to help you out.
No.
They just quit playing, and you go, "God, thank God for that."
If they ever quit playing.
So.
There's no hard players in there, right?
But when I saw Buddy Guy, I saw something that appealed to me because it could be jagged and fucked up, and that's the way I think a lot of times anyway. I mean, luckily some of it comes out even, but going all that kind of stuff, all the jagged stuff. I think it was coolest, I saw Peter Green get in Butt Good one night down at the Fillmore. They had a jam, and I think Buddy Guy was pretty red-eyed, And Peter Green is one of the most amazing guitar players I've ever seen live. I'm not lying. First of all, he could change tones in the middle of a solo like nobody I ever heard, and you really notice the difference. So he had dynamics, he had charisma. Girls are going berserk for this guy. I just go, "Fuck, I want to do that." So he had it all. But, he played pin drop quiet and get loud, but then the reverb would come out. That was another thing that really appealed to me too. He didn't use a tank, and he didn't care what amp he played through. One time they showed up with square head Vox. We were getting the Vox transistorized amps, here, like Super Beatles. But they had the tube Vox things, right? Then the next time they had, I think towards the end, they all had like the silver front, whatever they're called, the big cabinets, like silver front Showman reverb or whatever they call it.
Yeah. Oh, dual Showman.
Dual Showman, that's it. The dual Showman reverb, silver front, and it sounded the same.
Have you seen him since like?
Oh, I played with it now.
You have.
Oh, there's a great. I got to tell you this one now. Bob Welch, one of the guitar players that got in.
Yeah.
Later on in Fleetwood Mac. So somebody's interviewing him. This is on YouTube, by the way.
Oh, he was in Bob Welch from California.
No. No, he's a piano player, guitar player.
Yeah, him.
No, not him. No, the rock and roll Bob Welch, blonde-haired guy, wears all the English shit. Anyway, so in the mid '70s, he got in there. So the guy's interviewing him. He's going, "So when you got in Fleetwood Mac, did they ask you to play like Peter Green?" And they go, "No, quite the contrary. They said, do your own thing." And it was a relief to him because he didn't want to sit down and try to learn it because he goes, "There's only one Peter Green, right?" So the first gig he plays, they're outside of London, and they're going to do this show. And at the hotel in the lobby, there's Peter Green. Right? And he looks at him and he goes, he had a piece of cheese in his hair. This was on a Thursday. Well, finally, when they were there for 3 days, and finally on the Saturday or Sunday, or whatever it was, he looks over and he goes, the piece of cheese was still in it. He goes, "I don't know what kind of cheese it was, but it was still in his hair." And he goes, "That's when I knew he was nuts." And I sat across from him at Notodden in Norway, one of the biggest festivals they have there, and he had like feathers in his hair, right? And I looked over and I always wanted to know how he got the sound on Supernatural, where you hold, and it just holds the note forever. And he goes, "Les Paul through a Marshall." Well, that's not what I wanted to know. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to know what the gimmick. As it turned out, it's called the. Oh, now I can't think of the name of it. It's an Echo, Watkins Echo. Copycat, Watkins Copycat. That's how it just looped the sound. So it kept playing, you just go like that. So that's kind of like Les Paul's deal, like the Les Pulverizer. That was a big old unit that he had that had tape loops in it where he could play. He could speed his solos up and just play them slow, harmonies slow to it. Like when you listen to Les Paul, he's not really playing that fast. He's doing all this fast stuff, but it's taped, and he invented that. So you could just push a button and play along with himself.
Get the hell out of here.
No, that's what he did. And the guy on the West Coast, what's his name? Now I can't think of his name. He invented the wah-wah pedal. What is his name?
Clyde McCoy?
No. Clyde McCoy actually bought the rights from this guy. He was the Les Paul of the West Coast. Oh man, I'll think of it by the time it's over. But I met him and talked to him at length, and he goes, "Yeah, I invented the wah-wah pedal, but he goes, I sold the rights." He also invented the what is that thing called? Echophonic.
Oh.
That was one of the first things.
Tape echoes.
Yeah, it's actually in the, the Butts amp, the famous Butts amp. Well, the Butts amp is what Scotty Moore played through, which had that echophonic down at the bottom to get that echo sound. And the rockabilly guys
Yeah, I've
love
seen.
them.
Yeah.
And a lot of the European guys, they use the Benson echo, which is just a wheel. It doesn't have tape, but it has its own special. I have one. It's never worked. It's a ton, weighs a ton. You don't want to carry it around, even if it didn't work. But anyway, that's that. So here's another thing I really like, and Tiny Grimes does it. I actually have two nights taped of Tiny Grimes. He came there in 1987 to play the Hollywood Press Club, and I was just excited as hell, right? I could not believe it. He played not one lick you ever heard of on a record. Not one, remotely. And he was just the nicest guy. He had gotten a car wreck, so he was sitting down playing, and he had a Morley pedal. He didn't have any of his own stuff. They just gave him. But I always wondered, how does he go like this?
Right.
He doesn't do nothing with his hand. He goes, I don't touch the guitar ever. He goes, I leave the guitar full blast and just back off on a volume. And what he had back then, I have one, and I got to get it fixed. There's a D. Harmon, they call it a steel guitar pedal, I think. And so sideways is the tone, and the volume is up and down. So he actually went like this with his foot. That's what he told me. He goes, I never touched the guitar. So I tried to play that guitar of his. He goes, play something. I couldn't play anything because the strings are thicker than like a G bass string is his first string.
No.
Oh, they're like, unbelievable thickness, right? And somebody robbed the Charlie Christian pickup out of his guitar when he had it worked on. They put some harmony pickup or something in there. I forgot what it was.
For you to say that those strings felt thick to you is saying something.
Exactly. I've used 12s from the very beginning, so and I didn't have very good guitars at the very beginning, so it was tough. But you get used to it. Now that I'm getting older, I put an 11 and a half on that thing. I think it was. But I didn't change all the strings. I just changed the top 3 strings on both these guitars.
That doesn't feel weird to you to have the 3?
Oh, sure it does.
It does, right?
Sure it does. Sure it does.
It's actually not as bad as I thought it would be when you told me.
So anyway.
One of the things I think is another part of your signature sound is the Robert Jr. Lockwood turnarounds.
Exactly. Here's a unique one I figured out years ago. So you go like this. Let's I think one of the greatest records of all time is the one on Candid that he did with Otis Mann, just the two of them.
Oh yeah.
God,
That's
man.
my album.
I like this.
Blues, right? Is the name?
Yeah, that's one. There's two of them. There's two.
Oh, there's another one?
There's 2 albums?
Yeah. One of them has St. Louis Jimmy on there singing. Right?
You met him, I'm sure, Robert Lockwood.
Oh, many times. I got a good one on that one. Okay, so the first time, where was he from? Cincinnati, Cleveland. I think it's Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
So I was with Kim Wilson, the Tiger Man, 1993. So we had Rusty, Larry Taylor, Richard Ennis, Gene Taylor, and myself, Kim. So we were playing in this club, and I said, after we were done outside, I was outside smoking, and I said, hey, isn't this the town where Lockwood's played for like 26 years straight at this club? And they go, yeah, right there. And they point, and we were off the next night. And I go, is he playing the next night? And he says, yeah, we're off. And he goes, but Lockwood's playing. So I go, let's go. So we all walk in. So I'm walking first, right? And I'm walking backwards. I go, come on, man. Everybody's kind of like looking at the posters out in front of Lockwood. So I'm walking in, and I'm walking in like this. Go, come on a minute. And I almost bump into Lockwood. So I turn around, there he is. And I go, hey, Mr. Lockwood. I go, and he goes, you musician? And I go, yes, sir. He goes, buy me a cognac. So I buy him a cognac, right? We sit down, and he's playing to us. He's got the 12-string going with a phase shifter on it. But I have it on tape, man, and he plays the craziest version of Honky Tonk I've ever heard. It's just insane. So that was that night. And we hung the whole night, just had a ball. So about 12 years later, I'm up at Nototen once again, up the big festival of Norway. And there he is. And I go, how you doing, Mr. Lockwood? And he says, great. And I go, the first time I met you, I walked in that club you were playing there, and you said, buy me a cognac. And he goes, ha, ha, ha. I quit drinking. You don't have to worry about that tonight. So, I don't know if you heard this story. You probably did if you saw that other thing. When we were cutting with George Smith, he had this song, Sunbird. He goes, all I did was I borrowed this Telecaster that Harmon had, and I go, just a kind of a rhythmic thing, like an Albert Collins type deal behind George. He goes, I like that. But George was going like this. He'd count us all like this. And Honey was petrified, man. She hadn't been playing that long, with the band at that point. She was like looking at me all wide-eyed, because George is an intimidating character, right? So they were having problems with the board. It was all cracking. The guy goes, hold it. And he did that like 3 times. They're rubbing the knobs and stuff. Finally, they get it together, and they go, okay. So during one of those spaces, Bill Stubbe goes over to George. He goes, George, what's the name of this song? He goes, Sunbird, Bill. Bill goes, what's a sunbird? He goes, when the satellite goes into orbit, that's a sunbird. And Stubbe goes, well, what's that noise? He goes, that's a Masonic boom. So, you're trying not to laugh, and we got the cut done, and it's on that Boogie with George record.
That's funny.
But I'll tell you, one of the greatest sessions I've ever done in my life, the most relaxed session I've ever been in the studio, besides the stuff we cut for Meredith, that was just friends in a house, you can't get any more relaxed than that, right? But the first one I did in '83 with Jimmy Rogers, man, he was drinking, and we were just cutting the songs, and he'd go, I like it. We'd finish a song, and I would just be trying to stay out of his way and stuff. And a lot of people think I have an arch top on that record. I had a Dan Electro with my amp that I still play through today, this Pro that I turned into a basement.
Right.
When you turn the knobs down on that amp, you have nothing, opposed to a basement. It's like you have to turn the treble up, and you turn the bass up, and all of a sudden the amp just expands. It's great. It sounds like a big Pro, which was one of my favorite amps. When we played quiet, the TV front row is an amazing amp. 15 watts. That's all you need. Just like you with that little thing there. Sounds great. You mic it up. That's all. Shaky Jake used to play with us, and he was there, with Walter, and of course Magic City and stuff. He goes, those guys played, and we were quiet with Rod. He goes, down, man. Keep going down. He goes, those guys didn't play that loud. So, they didn't. They didn't have any big amps back then. 53, 54, Valco's and one of the articles in Living Blues, they're interviewing Lewis Myers and he's saying, what did Walter play through? And he goes, international amp. He goes, somebody threw it off into the river or something like that. Well, there's no international amp, it was a national amp.
International.
See what I'm saying? So, but they played quiet. That's how you get that stuff.
What did you play? If I'm going to think of some of your signature recorded tones that people go, "Wow, what did you play on that?" Tiger Man.
Tiger Man?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the Les
R5?
Paul. That's my, huh?
Was that the R5? The DeArmond R5?
R5.
Didn't you have a small
Oh, no.
110
Okay,
DeArmond?
No, forget that.
Okay.
I sold that to Frank.
Okay.
No. No, that's Kim Wilson's Harvard that was just terrible. I mean, the speaker was just about blown. That's just my gold top. Seven.
Right.
All it is, destroy. I got more calls on that than I've ever got calls
Yeah.
ever. What are you playing on there? That's
Yeah.
amazing. Mike Morgan, all these guys.
Right.
Mike Morgan actually flew me out before that because he wanted to learn the hucklebutt. And when I got there, he was playing it, but he was playing it in all these funny positions, and I go, well, that's it. And he got kind of pissed off. I go, you're doing it, but you're doing it your own way, and it sounds different, when you're playing in different positions. But yeah, I tried to play it different all the time,
I've never heard a version that isn't different
Well,
of yours.
he wanted a particular version. I go, I'd have to relearn that, because I don't know what I did on that, Just it evolved. I actually have an early one where I played the Esplanade,
Right.
the big one with the aluminum.
Yep.
From 1993 or 4 with Rod in a club, and it sounded. I go, I played that. I must have been drunk. It was just one of those things.
There's a guy that put something on YouTube it's a shortened version that you did with Rod. That I don't know if it's from that era. I think it's from that era actually.
Really?
It's old.
Well, the funny thing about it was, when I first got in Canned Heat, I was skeptical of Vito, but Vito's left-handed drummer, and he was swinging like hell on that thing, So we were doing, in '89, we were doing the 20-year anniversary of Woodstock, so we were out with all these, I call them fossil bands, like the Mamas and the Papas, which was only one, John Phillips, but he had his daughter, Mackenzie Phillips, who couldn't sing. He had Spanky McFarlane or whatever her name was, from Spanky in our gang, as Mama Cass. She could sing. Then they had the guy, what the hell is his name? He did If You're Going to San Francisco,
Scott,
where?
something or other.
What is his name?
Scott
McKenzie.
Mackenzie, yeah.
Scott McKenzie, right? And man, I tell you what, I never heard some crazier harmonies than that. I mean, they would practice all the time. Well, we were a band. We were one of the few bands that didn't practice backstage. There was New Riders of the Purple Stage, Buddy Miles' Band of Gypsies with none of the original members. All these guys wearing leather stuff and everything. And it was crazy, man. But anyway, we played 20 minutes, and I made $500 a night. Right? So we'd do Going Up the Country, On the Road Again, Let's Work Together, and the Hucklebutt. And Vito would keep playing until that, because I had to time it out almost, and we'd be done. And they just go nuts, and the other band's all scared back there practicing down to the wire. They were practicing, backstage, But I learned this thing, I knew this chord, but I saw this country guy in New Riders of the Purple Stage, and he goes like this. You could bend that. He goes like this. He goes.
You do that a lot.
Yeah. So you have to be flat, right?
He did some really crazy stuff on the Strat last night. The whammy bar and you're trembling and
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like bending and whammy bar. Same.
Yeah,
I don't know what.
have you heard the new CD? Okay, well.
Yeah. I was so glad when I saw you do that because I was like, how is he doing that? What the hell?
Well, people think I'm playing a steel guitar or something on there. I mean, a couple reviews I got, and shit, I don't know nothing about that. I don't even know nothing about what I really did. I just developed this thing where you can bend down the note, go like
Right.
this. You go like this.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, great.
So what key am I in? What key am I in? Oh, I was going to say.
Were you playing the Stratotone on that, on the record?
No, play the
A
Strat.
Strat?
Yeah. The Sash body Strat I have. When I came up with that, it turned out a happy hoppy. I thought I was sounding like, you know, a Hop Wilson, but no. Because Hop Wilson goes like. What he does with a bar. You know?
That's why you called it Happy Hop.
Then I came up with these things where you go like that. You go. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody else do that. You know?
Sounds like honky tonk, but on the
Yeah,
low.
kind of like honky tonk. And you know what's funny is we played in '82 at Tramps in Manhattan, and it was Charles Brown band, but he had no bass player. He had Bobby what is it?
Bobby Forrester. Yeah.
Bobby Forrester.
Yeah.
Exactly. God, what an organ player.
Yeah.
So he was kicking bass. Billy Butler on guitar. Belton Evans, who was one of the original Apollo drummers. Incredible. So the first night, we did 2 nights there, Saturday and Friday and Saturday. So the first night, Billy Butler played the fastest version of Billy's Bounce, you know. Second night he did you know, Blue Monk. So, how do you do Then he starts comping rhythm. I never saw this done before. He goes like this. That. I thought, what the hell is that, man? It was cool. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, he sounded like a genius till Charles Brown goes like this. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our wonderful guitar player Billy Butler is going to do his signature song that he made so popular with, Bill Doggett, Honky Tonk, and he messed it. I have it on tape.
He messed his own.
You go, he said, you go like it. part, he just. Anyway, he blew all that to hell. He was just, and he was going, every time he'd make a mistake, he'd go, ah. But I couldn't believe it. He played the most complicated stuff before that, you know. Probably so sick of that song. But, you know, he had the New Jersey accent, you know. He was about this tall. You know, just short guy, right? Coolest guy. Sound like, let me tell you something.
He was from Jersey?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Funny, man. He was a funny guy. I said, how was it? You know, that must have been really something being in that band that had a #1 hit. He goes, oh, it was terrible. I go, what? I didn't want that to come out. You know, he goes, yeah, I had like $500 in my pocket and I couldn't even get a sandwich, you know, going through the South. And I'm thinking, oh. So, but he was cool, man. He goes, I had this Epiphone, Zephyr Deluxe Regent, and the black guitar, the Esplanade, the aluminum binding. He goes, don't play that one. The black, you know, the black guitar. He goes, that's no good. He goes, that's a good arch stop. And I go, okay. Then when I ran in years later to Wayne Bennett, you know, we played this place called the Club Foot in Austin with Bobby Bland. And as soon as Wayne Bennett saw my black guitar, he goes, that's the guitar. He goes, when I had that, he goes, I had that when I played with Amos Pearl, just exact the Esplanade with the aluminum, right? He said, best guitar I've ever owned. And he had an L5 at that time. So it was him and Mel Brown together with Bobby Brown. It was really something else. Anyway, you know, it's good to learn little heads, you know, just to, like Tenor Madness or something like that, because it's different. You know, you'll see stuff. He goes.